Hey, and welcome back to He Works Hard for the Honey. I know these videos are getting long as the hive is getting a little more advanced. Checked out the top box where they're making a little bit of progress. We had a couple of frames of wax and syrup, which will hopefully in the very near future start to, they'll go through the process. They flap their wings to take out additional water, and that's how their syrup becomes honey. I'm hoping that it's helping, that we're giving them a syrup substitute. It's a 50-50 sugar and water mix that we put a little bit of essential oil into so that they have a carbohydrate source, which makes them produce wax more quickly. And just gives them the basic resources they need to sort of expand the hive and start filling up a honey super. I am just quickly going to go through the bottom box here. We're going to look for queen cells. We're going to make sure that that we see a healthy queen, and probably off camera I'm gonna just duck under. I'm noticing a lot of spider webs, a lot of caught bees down there, and I want to make sure that that's not making them jumpy. I guess that's kind of the circle of life, but if we can avoid it, I kind of figure let's do that. You can see there's a fair bit of activity today. It's been cloudy off and on, and I'm kind of wondering if we're not getting a lot of folks returning to the hive in anticipation of maybe some rain. When I was in the hive last week just to do some checks, I saw some really sort of exciting and colorful pollen patterns that I'm hoping are still going to be here. Not at the moment, but I think it was actually more so the other hive. We're making some pretty significant progress on a good honey frame here. You can see they're starting to cap it up towards the top left and right. There is going to be some brood. We got some darker pollen colors over here, and really the whole middle of this frame is syrup right now. So that's pretty hopeful, especially this far out into a box. This is the hive that I had to cut out some. They were getting pretty creative with how they were shaping their wax. They were making some tunnels. So I'm going to be interested to see, now that I've pulled some of that out, if they've corrected it. And while I'm in here, a lot of you seem to get a kick out of the fact that I watched a bee movie last night at my day job. The people I support insisted on it once they noticed it. Interesting. It was a little short on facts. So, not unenjoyable. I certainly wouldn't dissuade anybody from watching it, but we would love to have you just come in here for your bee facts or other sort of reputable sources. And I think my shirt just got stung, so I am very shortly going to be putting this down and getting away and maybe putting on some gear. Oh, it does look like they've really sort of righted some of the more creative shapes they made there. All right, it's time to put on some gloves and my hat, which I usually don't need in here. I'm kind of wondering, it seems like they may have a bee in their bonnet today. Haha. All right. Oh, this is going to be much better. All right, as always, as we get towards the middle, I'm going to be interested just to see that we've got eggs brood. Given that they're working on the upper box, I'm not too worried about them sort of progressing and continuing to build down here. Most of that should be done at this point. I think we were at an 80% before we put the upper box on. Just gotta wait for a little room to get my fingers in there. Alright, so once again, we're looking for eggs, we're looking for brood, and we're looking for capped brood, as well as queen cells, which I can see one in there, which we're going to have to pull out. But I do see brood in there. I see capped. And I see some very, very young brood. So this is a pretty healthy frame here. We are going to have to take a moment and just get a finger in here and get rid of this queen cell, which looks like it does not have an egg in it. Which is a good thing. All right, when they start making queen cells, they are getting ready to swarm. It usually means that not all of them can smell the queen to know she's there. And that's the only one I see on this side. But otherwise, a good and healthy frame. And looking on the other side, much the same. I see some eggs here. We've got some pretty healthy, colorful pollen down here. Some of those deep oranges and chalky whites. I see a couple of bees chewing out of their cells now. So we are having continued births here. So we are looking good. Have not seen the queen yet, although especially where I'm seeing eggs, I'm much, much less concerned. as I said, or these ladies are a little jumpier than I'm used to. This is generally the really chill hive. Somebody I mentioned that too, that I had a sort of aggressive and fast building hive, and I had the really chill, mellow hive, and she had mentioned, you know, it was an East Coast and a West Coast hive. So I guess for as much as space between our bees, I can't tell you which one's East Coast and which one's West Coast in the literal sense. But make some room, guys. Make some room. So these are the kind of center frames. Where I'm going to expect to see a lot of brood, a lot of eggs. This is sort of the really the best place for there to be bee births. It's the most ideal temperatures. We have somebody who's chewing his way out now. Welcome to the hive. And otherwise, it looks pretty healthy here. I don't see any queen cells. I see a couple of births happening here. So again, really healthy. Oh, we do have some queen cells down the bottom here. So I am going to have to tap in my hand. I think I am going to wrap up pretty quickly. Like I said, not 100% sure what got into them today, but I don't necessarily want to stick around and find out. Maybe a skunk's been knocking at their doors. Maybe local kids have been throwing rocks. Maybe they just don't feel like they have enough resources. If you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, we have another beekeeper who keeps pointing out that winter is coming. So that's going to be a concern in the next month or so, just making sure that they have enough resources to get through the winter. Bees tend to need 20 or 40 pounds of honey, some of which is already in here, as I mentioned, and some of which we're hoping they're going to create during the rest of this summer and the fall. All right, as a matter of fact, all right, I'm going to wrap this up here, and we'll meet you over at the other hive.